Welcome to SoCal Surf with Dan Nappy. Today, Huntington Pier North Side. Good size, but choppy. Walled up. The big sets that came through were walled up. Very few peaks, but I managed to get a couple little peaks. I got a nice little left that I was able to ride, make a few turns on. That was cool. But for the most part, I was just dodging walls of water. Choppy. There was no wind to speak of, just a slight little breeze, so I don't know where the chop is coming from. But it's blowing like crazy. It must somewhere else in the ocean or something. I don't know. But it's choppy, unnecessarily choppy. I don't know why. But for the most part, good day. Water's still very warm. Wasn't very crowded. There was people there, of course. There's always somebody at the pier. And so it was, you could find your waves here and there. And then there's a little bit of a drift north, which brought me down to really not very far, not down to the condos. It wasn't a very strong current, so I managed to stay pretty close to the pier for the whole time and catch what waves I could. So it was fun. The water's warm. There weren't any dolphins, but yesterday we were out by the cliffs down, which is north of the pier about a mile or so. And there the current was kind of weird because I'd be sitting out there and the waves were good size and there was a lot of peaks yesterday. A few walls coming in, but I was getting sucked out to sea further and further, and I just sat there to see how far I would go. And I was way out there. I'd say I was 50 yards past the furthest guy out. And there you had to constantly keep paddling towards the shore to stay in the braking zone. And I looked around and I thought, man, I am really getting out here. And just then a pod of dolphins went across parallel to the shore, but I was out past them about 25 yards. So I was way out there. And so I started paddling in, just trying to, help the waves to help push me in a little bit. So it took me a couple of minutes to get back into the braking zone. And so I was pretty far. So the current was not so much, it was still going from south to north. So by the time we were done, we were down by the gap, which is the gap between the two cliffs further north from Golden West. So we were pretty far down. In fact, I was past the cliffs for a while, and then I kept paddling south to try to stay in that area because I was getting past the easy part of the area to get out of, because the cliffs you have to climb up, but at the gap it's very easy to walk out. So we went in by Golden West and walked out at the gap, so both ends are pretty good. So the surf was about, I was overhead, definitely overhead for the most part, but I was catching more of the head-high waves because they had more shape and they had more corners to get onto. The walls that came in that were overhead were just all the way down the beach, just tall and walled up. You couldn't do maybe a couple of turns if you were lucky. Most of the time it was a drop and get out of the way. And so I got, yesterday I had my 7-footer, which was probably a mistake. I thought maybe it'd be mushier, but it was still breaking pretty strong. And I can't duck dive that one as well as I can the 6-footer. So a big set came in down at the cliffs, and I tried to duck dive under it, and I was slightly off center, and that board just ripped out of my hands like nothing. I was tossed around and thrown under a couple of times, and I'd already been paddling hard, so I was out of breath. And so we're getting thrown around now, and now all I needed to do was get to the surface, and just got to stay relaxed and get up there. And it's easy to say, but hard to do. So that wave kind of got my attention. Then from then on, I was a little more careful with my duck dives. But you got to be, tip number one is keep your board perpendicular to the wave. If you're slightly angled and it's a bigger board, you're going to get it ripped out of your hands. And then you're going to get tumbled around because now you're being sucked with the wave instead of going under it. And today I was, a big set came in and I duck dive with the little board. And I'm able to get underneath it pretty easy. And then you just kick the bottom down and shoot out the back and you just pop right up. So technique is very important on a duck dive. It's not just the size of the board, but the technique is also important. So other than that, pretty good surf today. I didn't see any wildlife. Some guys were out there talking about sharks. How many times I got to tell you, when you're out surfing, you don't talk about sharks. When you want to talk about sharks, do it around the table while you're having lunch. Anyway, didn't see any. Heard talk about one. Heard talk that there was a big hammerhead out there. People, I guess, are heightened. Their awareness is acute, and they're looking for sharks now. So I think we're getting a lot more sightings of sharks than you normally would, because people are just talking about it too much. They're always out there, but I don't need to hear about it. So keep the shark talk to yourself while you're surfing. Like I said, I heard of a hammerhead that was talk inside on the sand. So I never saw it, so I don't know what to tell you. There's sharks in the water, yes. Are you going to quit surfing? Are you going to quit driving because someone crashes a car? You're going to quit flying because a plane goes down? You just do what you have to do and just try not to dwell on the negative. So I didn't see any, but heard about it. So we're still at Huntington. I'll be going to Newport next week with some more rookies. Seems like summertime is rookie time. A lot of people come into town. They want to surf. They don't understand that's a very difficult sport and takes a long time to learn, but you can still have fun. I mean, you push them into a few waves, they paddle around a bit, get tossed around a bit, and they're having fun. So it's all good. So next week, a couple days next week, we'll be doing some rookie surfing. So hopefully there'll be some waves for me to ride as well, but we'll just go with the flow. As soon as school starts, the waves start getting better. The best season for surfing, in my opinion, in Southern California is between September and December. You get those big storms out in the Gulf of Alaska or out in the North Pacific, and they roll in from a great distance, which gives them time to form and organize better. And then by the time they get here, the weather is still warm, the water is still warm, and the surf is good size and good shape. So my opinion is the best surf time is between September and December here. Not to say that there aren't good days all year round. I've had great days. Last winter we had we had great days at Newport. We had great days at Huntington. We went to San Onofre a few times last winter, and it was good there as well. So there's good breaks everywhere. This is a good time for Southern California is the fall into winter, and then wintertime it's sporadic. You get a few storms, you get a little chop, but there's some good days to be had because the surf is pretty strong in the winter. And that's it. So I will let you go. Check out our sponsors and nappyclothing.com, Merch Hero, Task Bullet, and Swing Easy Hammocks. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Thanks. Bye.